What is a secret that you will never tell anyone? When I was 9, my dad and I were reading Reader's Digest and found a magazine subscription card for a free case of Depends adult diapers. So we wrote my uncle's name and address down and put it in the mailbox. He got it a couple weeks later and called everyone in the family to find out who it was. We knew my uncle was fuming. So we kept it to ourselves. To this day, everyone suspects that it was my other uncle. I used to work in a shopping center. One time as I was walking into the building I sneezed and totally shit myself. I was about 10 steps away from the shop so I had to think fast. I took a hard left turn and walked direct into a department store. I only had $5 on me so I beelined for the underpants section and got the cheapest pair I could find. I then had to go to the center toilets and sort everything out. It was a real mess. I texted my boss and told them I was stuck in traffic, but in reality I was 100 meters away trying to salvage any shred of dignity I could for the next 20 minutes. I'm happy to say the mission was a success, and that day is now the benchmark by which all other days are measured. Every day since has been infinitely better. When I was in elementary school, I once lost something, so I asked to go to the lost and found in the lost and found room, which was a big storage closet. They also stored the Cokes for the pop machines. I took one. Then, probably 3 to 4 times a week, I'd remember I lost something else and go steal another Coke. I don't know how long I did this for, but I got a lot of free Coke. When I was in 4th grade, I put mustard in one of my friend's burger because he had told me that he hated mustard. Turns out he was actually allergic. He didn't come to school for 3 days and I was scared that I killed him. To this date no one knows that I did it. Edit. Wow, so many upvotes, that's cool. I would like to say that don't worry, we are still on pretty good terms. I didn't know my best friend's name for almost 10 years. She goes by Katie almost exclusively and got it in my head early on that it was short for Caitlin. Imagine my surprise when I heard her being referred to as Catherine at our convocation. No right way to bring that one up in a conversation. When I was 4 years old I had hernia surgery. I wasn't supposed to go downstairs during recovery, but I snuck downstairs to find my toy toolbox and brought it upstairs to play in bed. I have never told my parents. Removed. When I was about 7 years old my dad took me to Blockbuster and I really had to pee. Blockbuster didn't have a restroom so I peed in one of the aisles. I'm pretty sure the cameras saw me, but thankfully there was no one near me. Wow, thank you all so much. I didn't think this comment would blow up like it did. Also I corrected the asterisk aisles lol. 2 days in a row when I was in the 2nd grade one pissed my pants. Because the teacher had this policy where she wouldn't let any student go to the bathroom even during free time in class. The 3rd time I spent a solid 10 minutes begging her before she finally said fine. I pissed my pants on the way to the bathroom. My family only knows of the one time, but I had to deal with that humiliation 2 times before, and it was within the first week at school. After that I had a water bottle that I pissed in during her class for the remainder of the year. I don't know what she was expecting if somebody who just moved in with 0 friends would be doing in the bathroom. But honestly, if I would have the opportunity to go back in time, I would rather tell my own self to piss on her desk, because that would have been less humiliating than pissing my pants 3 days in a row. Around 10 years ago, when I was a teenager, my dad, who worked in the video game industry back then, got a gaming laptop. worth around $3,000 that time, as a gift he didn't have a real use for. So he gave it to me as I used to play WoW back then. He was very adamant about telling me to not put liquids, i.e., drinks etc., on my desk next to it as I'm very clumsy. So one night, I made myself a huge ass bowl of cornflakes, and put the bowl next to the laptop because I forgot my spoon in the kitchen. I sometimes put a blanket over myself when I was gaming, and when I got up from the chair that night, I somehow managed to flip the bowl over with my blanket and the milk flooded the open laptop. I got incredibly scared, turned the laptop off and cleaned it like my life depended on it and went to bed. I obviously broke the laptop as I didn't get it to turn on anymore. But I was too scared to tell my dad what happened, especially since he repeatedly told me to be careful, and told him how I didn't have any idea what happened and how it worked perfectly fine on the night before. I still feel incredibly bad about it. I lost a baby at 24 weeks. She was a prem. Lived 4 hours and 21 minutes. She was planned, wanted etc. I'm glad she didn't live, because if she did, I might have to live a life alongside her father who used to beat me. She'd be 10 now, and I wonder if my life would be so much more different if she lived. And how hard my life would have been if he stayed in my life too. There was a major earthquake that occurred, and at that time and initial impact of said earthquake, I was thrust in the air, landing on my belly, broke my waters too soon at just shy of 21 weeks, and a few weeks later I gave birth. Her death is one of great pain to me. But now, I am thankful of it. I'm a terrible person because I'm thankful. Some days, I wish I could have the path that never eventuated, and other days I'm glad it didn't happen. But to be grateful at any time that it didn't happen is not something I would admit to anyone I know in person. That's my secret and dirty shame. In preschool, a parent brought in fruit roll-ups for the entire class and they mysteriously went missing while the class was in the gym. I ate like a king after bedtime for the best week of my life. About 20 years ago I worked for a big publisher. They were upgrading all their tech and just dumping it in a skip. I asked a security guy if I could take some stuff from the skip, and he said to help myself as it was all going to get crushed anyway. During a night shift I filled up my car with a beige G3 Quadra Apple Macs keyboards, mice and some 19 inches 4 Mac screens. Some of the Macs had Quark Express and Photoshop on them. I cleaned them up and sold the lot. I made enough to buy a G4 Quicksilver of my own, which I still have today. I didn't tell my coworkers, ex-wife, managers or anyone else. I really don't care for anyone in my family. Sometimes I just want to be alone. I don't want a partner. I don't want pets or a family. I just want to travel and live my life and wander. Work as I go and be free. Edit. Thank you for the awards, you guys. Wish I could have some extra energy. That would be nice. When I was 8 years old we had pet mice. This one mouse got pregnant and she was starting to eat some of her babies. This upset me so much. I rushed to tell my stepfather. I was so distraught and mad at the mama mouse. Why was she eating her young? What a bad mom. My stepfather's reaction? He made me kill the mom. Literally. He put her in a sink full of water and literally dragged me in there. Grabbed my hand and forced me to hold this mouse underwater. I was struggling and crying the whole time to take my hand away. This asterisk ucken traumatized me. And what's worse, he then took the rest of the baby mice that had lived and he fed 'em to this *uckin fish he had. I'm not sure I remember the name. I think he called it an Oscar fish. But maybe that was his name for it. I was so young. He was a very abusive, deranged guy. My mom finally left after he beat her within an inch of her life. I've never told anyone that story. I'm too ashamed. I know I was a kid and I'm clear that he forced me. But it still doesn't take the pain and shame away. Probably 15 years ago my sister had a gerbil, and one day I decided to bring it out of her cage and surprise her in the living room with it. Somehow I slipped on carpet and the gerbil went flying headfirst into the wall. It basically sounded like I threw a golf ball at the wall and the gerbil wasn't moving. Naturally I put it back in its cage and removed myself from the vicinity. To my amazement, the damn thing was still alive and moving around a few minutes later and lived another 2 years without anyone ever knowing that I basically Kobe'd it into the wall at full speed. I lived with my aunt in 4th grade. She had a neighbor that lived downstairs, so they had a shared backyard. Rule was always make sure the latch is closed on the gate so the dog doesn't get out. I always made sure to lock it. One day I forgot. The dog got out, Chihuahua, and was ate by a big neighbor dog. Blamed it on the neighbor. She cussed him out and would badmouth him any chance she could. I was too scared to tell her and she still doesn't know. During my freshman year in high school I was drinking a red Gatorade at lunch. This girl said that I was sitting in her seat. I hurried and swiped my drink to find another seat. I didn't realize my Gatorade lid wasn't tightened and the drink basically splashed all over her white pants. I scurried off pretending I basically just didn't *uck up this girl's pants with red Gatorade. A few weeks later my friend invited me over to play some League at his house. His sister came home and I realized that was the girl I spilled my drink on. On God, I was shitting my pants at that very moment. But luckily she seemed to have not remembered my face because she did not mention it. My friend and I still talk to this day. I've graduated high school 9 years ago. And I have never told this to him or his sister. I sometimes feel like she pretends to not remember and is actually plotting something all these years. Edited typos that I could catch before work, lol. Nice try. As a teen I stayed the night at my best friend's house and slept in their guest room. I was woken about 2 a.m. to the sound of her older brother arriving home intoxicated from a party. He saw me in the guest room and leaned against the doorway to say hi. He then stumbled down the hallway to his bedroom but never turned the hallway light off. And it made it difficult for me to get back to sleep. So after about 10 to 15 minutes I got up and walked down the end of the hallway to the light switch. I turned it off and started walking back to my room when I briefly glanced into his bedroom. As I walked past, his door was wide open and he was sitting at his computer with his back facing me. He was naked from the waist down, masturbating to what looked like transgender porn. Can't be certain, but it looked like someone in heavy makeup, long hair and with a penis. I must have made a noise because he swung around, saw me staring and said, "Oh shit." Then I immediately and swiftly returned to bed and lay in the dark, not able to get the image out of my mind. 5 minutes later I heard him creeping down the hallway. I was like, oh God. Here we go. He looked so sheepish and uncomfortable. He stood in the doorway and apologized for what I'd seen and begged me not to tell my friend, his little sister. I swore I'd never tell them and told him it's fine and to go back to bed. To this day they wonder why he hasn't got a girlfriend and they think perhaps he has a crush on me. Because he acts weird around me. I've jerk off with a pic of myself once deadpan face. I feel safe. I'm not gonna hurt myself. But I sometimes feel suicidal. Feels like I should add in. I would get immediate help if I felt like a imminent threat to myself. I am also in counseling which helps, but I guess I have a ways to go. Just a lot is effed up in my life, not to mention the world. Just trying to make it better. The world if I can too. One time I picked up a scam call that was obviously a scam, and the entire time I listened, and then at the end I simply said no, and the guy started cussing at me in a different language. I used the other gender's deodorant. I know it's made for a woman. But it's strong enough for a man. Bro in 3rd grade 1 thought it was cool as hell to wear glasses, but I had near perfect vision. So I absolutely bombed an eye exam on purpose, and now almost 20 years later I'm legally blind. Without glasses cause my eyes got so ****. That's my secret to take to the grave.